Hello, greetings, Earthlings. This is my second installment of lectures in this lecture, the lecture series. The first one, my previous lecture, video lecture, where I I had discussed neoliberalism, the failures and the failure and deception behind neoliberalism, particularly in Western society. So today I interrupted my normal course of activity in order to produce this video for you. It will be this is the second lecture and follow-up lecture in this series of, you may call it, politics and consciousness awareness series. And I'm your professor in residence, Jeffrey Lawrence Weinstein. I'm wearing my professorial glasses for this particular occasion with my nice jacket. I was going to put on a tweedy looking jacket. I don't know. I didn't want to appear to be too stodgy or 50-ish, 50s or 60s-ish. Yeah. What this COVID-19 pandemic has really opened up a lot of phenomena in terms of awareness of one's society, one's living style, if you wish, and questions of concerning civil rights, civil liberties, freedoms, and what lengths, extreme measures will the government go to compel or coerce its citizens to comply with certain health precautions, safety measures in terms of public health to stop the spread, contain the spread, and decrease the rate of infections, and henceforth the rate of death. And there are varying views and opinions on the gravity of this virus. Claims that this is not as serious as it was made out to be, comparing it to other viruses and influenzas and so forth. In my opinion, this is the deadliest virus that has been released and spread as a pandemic in the pandemic context, public health wise. And there are many suspect things which happen. For example, China's relationship with the WHO, China's compromising the WHO and corrupting the WHO, particularly its leader, Tedros, who was installed thanks to the influence of Chinese Communist government, and with whom, if you do your research, you will find, in fact, they had the Chinese government and Xi Jinping in particular had close relationship with this fellow African who from I forget now, one of the African countries. So he had a background with in leadership in positions of non-governmental organization leadership. And if you think the WHO, as well as some other UN organizations, is not politicized, you are sadly mistaken. So, time to wake up and smell the corruption. And this is the insidiousness of what we're dealing with. This is not an ordinary coronavirus. It is amplified, it is stronger, is deadlier, more insidious than the previous SARS virus. It's in the family of SARS. This is like SARS-2. This is the descendant to SARS, which is much more dangerous, much more as a contagion, much more contagion, potently contagion, more contagion substance, substantially, and we see that it brings on a various number of symptoms, particularly the ones who are predisposed to being affected immune system wise, who have pre-existing conditions. And we are seeing now that our healthcare systems, and I'm saying particularly and especially in the United States, have failed miserably. Now, I will assert unashamedly that United States population as a first world industrial country is the least healthiest country in the entire world. The richest, most powerful country is also the least healthiest, the most vulnerable health-wise, and henceforth explains why it accounts for about 1/3 of the entire infections, cases of infection in the entire world, around the globe. And the death toll rises more and more. And it's very soon going to pass well over 100,000 deaths in the United States. So it is not comparable to SARS or anything that we have seen recently. And we want to talk about Spanish flu 100 years ago or so. Yes, 50 million people, much different world. The technology we have today as compared to then, when the Spanish flu influenza struck and devastated the world, is astounding. We are so advanced in terms of information technology and knowledge and availability of information and sophistication of systems, social systems, economic systems, political systems, financial systems particularly. We become much more advanced and sophisticated as a people. And now, if you saw the last video and if you recall, I asserted that at the heart of political decision making and policy making is financial power, the financial power that comes from corporate power, a very small elite, very small oligarchical elite, and this is getting smaller and smaller. The power, financially, politically, is being concentrated in a smaller and smaller and smaller group of particular corporations and individuals, which is extremely dangerous. And people like to listen to billionaires. People like to listen to Bill Gates. Like, without question, you just listen to whatever billionaires have to say, Bill Gates or Bezos or whatever, this schmuck, that putz, whatever. Unquestionably, Yeah, he did his research. He's not a doctor. Okay, he did his research, and he had some smart. He was smart enough to cheat the system. He never graduated Harvard. Did he graduate Harvard? No, he didn't graduate Harvard. He is a Harvard dropout because he beat the system. He was clever enough, smart enough to beat the system. He says, I could go to Harvard, I could drop out of Harvard and still go into IBM, steal from IBM their ideas and their inventions, and glean off other mathematicians and just steal all their work and create my own company, Microsoft, and make billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. And this is who people listen to, Bill Gates. People have to start thinking with the gray matter between their ears. What you have between your shoulders is not a hat rack. And on the one hand, I tend to think because of lack of awareness and people being so readily and easily manipulated by the media, by propaganda, by billionaires, humanity is doomed. We're doomed to destruction. And yet, on the other hand, we are a very resilient species. We have survived catastrophes even worse than this, than what we're going through right now. And we were on the brink of nuclear war on more than one occasion. And it was averted. Though if we averted destruction by nuclear holocaust, certainly we can avert ultimate destruction by this coronavirus pandemic. And it's now this play of consciousness playing out. We have two forces, malevolent and benevolent forces. You can say good, you call it good or evil or high or low. It doesn't matter. We could use these terms to conceptually discuss, just for argument's sake, just for a point of discourse, just for the discourse, for mental, intellectual understandings of this, conceptually understand and see in this perspective, in this higher perspective of higher awareness. You see, the words doesn't matter. I'm not going to get hung up on the terms, the polar opposites of good or evil or left or right or what have you. And people do tend to get caught up on semantics. Their attention is on the word, the form, and not the something beyond that, the spirit of what's behind the word, what's driving the word, just for the sake of a human discourse. That's all. And their beliefs, their intellectual beliefs, their ego intellectual beliefs are so strong that no other perspectives will penetrate their minds. They won't allow any other higher wisdom, higher perspective, or ideas in various aspects of our life, of our global life. They won't allow these ideas to penetrate their mind, to grow and expand their mind. The mind stays contained in its small ego intellectual bubble, and this is part of the problem. This is part of why I say, or I should say, I get the impression that we're doomed. Humanity is doomed because at that rate and on that level, the solutions will not manifest at all. Even if the solutions are out there, which they are, but they're not going to manifest because people are not open and willing to have the social or political willingness to apply these solutions. And so I'm just talking more or less in a general context, and I will go in future video YouTube's lectures. I will elaborate and going into